In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 really difficult situations that mentally can be a make or break situation in any match. Making mistakes, losing points is never fun, but you need to move on quickly. And I know how detrimental it was when I was not able to move on, because the mistake that I made then kind of dragged on for another 2-3 points. And I'm sure you've experienced that as well. But I did have matches where I was able to move on quickly, and I'm going to share the 3 situations with you, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can reframe your negative thoughts around that situation and then get out of that really negative mindset. First situation, you have a juicy sitter right here somewhere in midcourt and you miss it. Or the volley right on top of the net, or an overhit, and there's basically no way you can miss it, but you manage to miss it nonetheless. As your coach sitting on the bench, seeing you miss a ball like that, I have 0 problems with that, absolutely none. Actually, the young women at Vanderbilt, whenever something like that happened, and it did happen, and I said like, hey, no worries, it's all good. They looked at me like I was crazy. Why is it all good? Because to me, that's a good mistake. Yes, you lost the point, but in building the point, you must have done a whole lot of things right to force that ball that you then unfortunately missed. You must have pushed your opponent back behind the baseline or off the court to produce a really weak shot that gave you the sitter. Ask yourself in this situation, if you continue to build your points this way and you get more of these chances, will you end up winning this match? And the answer is yes, very, very, very likely you will end up winning this match. Try to chalk it up as a trial run. You will get another one, and then try to figure out what you did that made you miss. What can you change on the next one? Maybe you needed to brush up a little bit more. Maybe you needed to bring your target in. Maybe you needed to not hit quite as hard. To me as a coach, it's a lot easier to make those little changes, to have the player recognize what it was and then do it better the next time, than having a complete lack of tactical understanding of a player and they're trying to smack winners from 18 feet behind the baseline or go for way too much pace when they're playing in defense. Whatever it is, those kind of situations are way tougher to change and to teach to somebody than just making a slight adjustment for the next shot. Next situation, you're losing points when you're trying something new. And the natural reaction is, of course, frustration, and then most players quit doing anything new. If you're trying to become a better tennis player, it's not going to happen in a week, in a month. It goes over years. And yes, my videos are for recreational players that are probably not high-performance juniors that are going for scholarships. They are between 40 and 60, and they have been playing for years and years and years. You can still improve. You can still add new things to your game, but you have to stick with it. You have to stick with it. So here's how you think around the errors that you make when you are trying something new. Remind yourself what the long-term gains will be. And I talk a lot about changing the serve from the frying pan grip to the correct grip, the continental grip. If I'm changing my grip from the frying pan to a continental grip, I will be able to add spin, slice, and a flat serve, of course. I will have an easier time placing the ball, and the more I advance, I might be able to add a kick serve. So a lot more variety on my serve. Another thing that a lot of players struggle with is the transition from baseline to net. And again, that is one of the make or break distinctions between an intermediate to advanced intermediate and then advanced. You have to be able to volley. So for instance, if you're coming in and you're getting passed a bunch, and you will, or you're missing those easy volleys, and you will, think about what you're doing to your opponent. They are now forced to actually pass you with way more precision. They can't just hit the ball over. You are building for your future. And again, make sure you're not thinking in just weeks or sometimes even months. What would be other side effects, but good ones? If you are starting to come into net more, you're now starting to look for shorter balls, you're putting way more pressure on your opponent, even with your ground strokes, because you're taking more time away, and so on and so forth. So always highlight what you will gain in the long run if you are making changes and adding new things to your game. Have you ever been up 5-2, 5-3, first set, or in the second set, you're almost able to close out the match, but then this happens. All of a sudden, you're taking the foot off the gas and you're now just hoping for your opponent to basically miss and hand you the match on a silver platter. Me? No, that never happened to me. No. Of course it did. Plenty of times. And with kind of even success, I won some and I lost some. But the ones that I lost, the thinking around that was, how did I get up to this lead? How did I play? And am I going to up my chances if I continue to play this way and take my destiny, so to speak, let's get a little dramatic, into my own hands? Chances are, if you continue to play the way that you got up to that score, you're going to end up winning. And if for some reason, now the other person plays absolutely lights out, absolutely unbelievable, you don't have control over that. Sitting on the bench and coaching somebody, I've plenty of times seen that change in the body language and just how they're hitting their strokes, that they are now kind of hoping, praying that the other person will miss. And it always was one thing that if I'm seeing the player that I'm coaching go for their shots, trying to stay aggressive the way that they did up to that point, and then they lose, I'm the happiest coach on the planet, because that takes guts. And I'd rather have you go down in flames, if you will, on your terms than cooperating into a loss by being timid and just hoping. So when you get to this situation, take your time, because you're going to want to rush because it feels uncomfortable. You want to rush between points. You want to fix the next point if you just missed the ball, and you're just, again, helping your opponent there. So take your time, take lots of deep breath, recap really quickly, very simply how you got to that point. Try to replicate that game style. And remember, chances are super, super high that if you continue to play that way, you're going to win. If you're interested in working on your mental skills with me in depth, you can book mental skills sessions with the link that I'm putting down below in the description.